David Moyes is clearly a very patient man. I believe this is borne out from the fact that he was afforded nigh on 10 years of opportunity at Everton to build a team. It's quite clear by listening to his language, listening to the way he speaks, that he feels a similar thing is building at West Ham at the moment. I think you've got to put to one side the fact that he hasn't signed a new contract. It may be a worry for us as fans, but when you listen to the way he talks about building a scouting network, about it taking several different transfer windows to build a squad, and the way he enthuses, let's say, about replicating what he did at Everton at West Ham, it certainly doesn't smack of a manager that is worried that he's going to get the boot in a couple of weeks. Clearly Moyes sees his long-term future at West Ham, and all the whispers that you hear coming from the club certainly suggest that they see that as well. So if we just accept that and don't worry about his contract for the moment, what are we left with? Well, we're left with wondering what he is actually looking to build. Now, I think the frustration is sometimes warranted, but when you're looking at someone like Moyes, you've got to understand that he just views things in different time frames to we do. So once he's frustrated to get a point against Fulham, certainly Moyes is feeling that he'd like to win it, but it ain't a bad point. We're still up there. And when you look at the topsy-turvy nature of the Premier League and certainly results this season, we seem to be a lot more stable than most. It almost seems like everybody else in the Premier League, perhaps with the exception of Manchester City, let's say, we're on a bit of a roller coaster, peaks and troughs, ups and downs. It's like that, whereas we've more flatlined through it. Flatlined is probably a bad example because it indicates that things aren't going particularly well. But my point is, we have been certainly more of a steady plotting a steady predictable course rather than the ups and downs. We don't tend to lose many games in a row, and I'm just putting that into context. I don't believe that David Moyes is overly concerned with anything. It can be frustrating for us as fans because you think, come on, go for it, do something. But if he's viewing something through the prism of a 4 or 5 year project, then I guess he's thinking, why should he rush and get a player in when he's not done his due diligence? So the indication is at the moment he's scouting Adam Armstrong and Ivan Toney from the Championship. And I don't particularly want to get into those two players because I think we spent too much time getting into individuals who just didn't end up coming to the club. But I think if you just look at the fact that we are scouting them, and we are scouting them from the Championship, then that probably is an indicator that he wanted to take a little bit more time to look at these players. Scouts have not been able to go to games, by the way. This is probably very, very important. So they've not been able to do the sort of stuff that Moyes would have wanted to, just by getting decent reports. By his own admission, he's had to use video and stuff like that. But the purpose of this is not to look at individuals who he might bring in. It's actually looking at areas at the team where Moyes probably feels that he might want to strengthen. So what does it mean when he says, I want to take 4 transfer windows to get things right and to get more the shape of my team? Well, I'm quite happy to take him at his word on that. It means he doesn't really feel that it's fully his team at the moment. And I think it's quite clear who he does see as his players. I think where the grey area comes in is who does he not see as his players? Who would he get rid of? Now, you can't go around saying, I want to get rid of him, and him, because you're going to need these players. Look at what's just happened in the Fulham game. Souček gets a red card. We don't know until Tuesday whether or not he's going to have that rescinded and be available. So, it would be foolish of him to start saying to Mark Noble, "Oi, you're off next year," or whatever the case may be. And the same with the striker situation as well. He'd be silly to not play his cards close to his chest. But what does he see? So I think the real obvious one that we know he wants is a striker. The fact that he's going and scouting Armstrong and Toney from the Championship certainly indicates that is a position he needs to deal with. We've all suspected for quite a long time that the midfielder is a problem. Certainly for myself, when I looked at Aston Villa buying Morgan Saucisson for 15 million, I thought, well, that's a good bit of business. He's a decent player. It's not 80 million pounds of a player for 15 million, but it's a good price for a good player who can do a bit of everything in central midfield and do it pretty damn well as well. So I would feel that we would need somebody like that. And I'm damn sure Moyes does as well. I'm pretty sure he doesn't look at his bench and think, oh, goody gumdrops, I can bring Mark Noble on or play the fornicator in the middle or do whatever. No, I think he probably wants somebody that's, he said it himself, he says Red Bull model. I think he doesn't know what he's talking about in that sense. But I think he wants younger players. I think he wants players 24, 25 to come in. And I think ideally his next choice for central midfield wouldn't be Mark Noble. It would be, as I say, a 24, 25-year-old. He doesn't like them really inexperienced, but he almost likes these players to have 100 games. 100 professional games under their belt. That's the impression I get anyway when I look at David Moyes. So certainly that, but that's really obvious. What else does he need? What are these four windows for? Well, I think in terms of squad size, I think the size is probably roughly what he wants, but it's the composition, it's the mixture of that squad. So apart from the time we had two goalkeepers on there, by and large, the bench is full of players. I just want to quickly look through who I think he would like to remove. And I've got to go with the first one, and it may be a bit of heresy to say this, but I do think the first one he would probably look at would be Fabianski. I say the first one, the third one, if you like, would ascertain striker, midfielder would need sorting. Fabianski, his distribution is just not good enough, I think, for the way Moyes would ideally like to play, which is sit back, so get up, get the ball, keeper gets the ball, bang, counter-attack. I look at Manchester City, and whilst I don't think Moyes is going to be wanting to play a Pep Guardiola style anytime soon, they do seem to scout footballers that are decent enough with a ball at their feet and who can spring a counter-attack very, very quickly. I don't know if we want to be looking in that area, but I wouldn't be surprised if David Moyes is certainly doing something very similar. Right back, I don't think so. Not now. Not now. Number one, he's very keen on Soufal, and rightly so. The only one that I would have wondered about would have been Fredericks, but he seems to have rekindled a bit of love for Fredericks there, I believe, in that sense. So I don't think so. Fredericks got 18 months on his contract, but I don't think it's necessarily something he's looking at. He's probably thinking that it feels quite strong there. Centre-half, I do. I get the impression, actually, he would get rid of Balbuena and he would get rid of Diop if he could. I think he'd like to keep Dawson, clearly Ogbonna, but again, Ogbonna is, if you are talking about 4 transfer windows, is Ogbonna going to be around that much longer? I don't know, but I am very, very comfortable with whatever system Moyes plays, what strategy, let's say, whatever shape he plays, the system is going to be fine and he will buy players who fit into that. So I've no doubt the next 2 centre-halves that we buy, and I do think he's thinking is about 2 centre-halves, whoever we buy, I think they're going to be good. I think we're going to like them. I think they're going to fit very well into the system. Left back, I do think he's going to do something, because I believe, as great as Cresswell is, how good is Cresswell going to be in 2 years' time? I don't know. He may be exactly the same. I also get the impression that he likes Masuaku. Listen to how he speaks about Arthur Masuaku. He very much speaks as if we're hindered because Arthur's out. Arthur needs to come back. He says it quite a lot. That being said, I do think part of the squad rebuilding will be to buy another left back. I absolutely do, 100%. So at the moment, we're up to goalkeeper, a couple of centre-halves and a left back. I'll let you decide whether Cresswell goes or Cresswell sees out that 2 or 3 more years and plays for the team, or it's Masuaku that goes. But I just think that's very much the case. I think he also would be looking to maybe inject a bit more pace there as well. Central midfield, we've sort of covered, and I do believe he's going to want to bring someone there, because that's where the squad, that and striker is where the squad is at its thinnest. So there's no doubt he'll be making a list of players that can play in that position. And also, let's be perfectly blunt here, he would be a very silly manager indeed if he hadn't prepared for Declan Rice's exit. And I don't think he is a silly manager. I would imagine David Moyes, with the privacy of himself and his immediate coaching staff, probably has in his mind a list of 3 or 4 players who he's seen that can take Declan Rice's place. So I don't mean that as part of the squad building. What I do feel is when that happens, we didn't have the money to go out and get Moyes' number 1 striker target, who we get to in a second. I do feel it's really important, if we do sell Declan Rice, that we don't go to 3rd or 4th down in the list. I think we have to go and get Declan Rice. We have to go and get David Moyes' #1 transfer target. Vitally important to take Declan Rice's place there. Right wing, yes, I think he has in mind that he would like another right winger. I do not think that he doesn't like Yarmolenko. I think he's appreciated what Yarmolenko's done. I think he uses him because he has to, but you do not get the impression in any way, shape or form that he's a Moyes type player. That I can't get past the don't run, don't play moniker. I think that is really, really... sorry, it's not moniker, is it? Just, you know, his manifesto, if you like, his mantra. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. The mantra of don't run, don't play. It's not that. I'm not saying Yarmolenko's lazy, but he's not that high energy player that I feel Moyes is looking for. So I think a right winger he will be looking to do, or maybe someone versatile that can play the right or the left. I'll let you decide on that one. So you certainly get the impression he likes versatile players because he mentions it a lot, and we've seen what he's done by moving players around into different positions. The left side, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure on that one. I think he certainly likes Fornals. My only trouble with that is we've seen Fornals out of the team for the last 2 games. I would expect him to come back and play well when he gets back into the team. He usually does, Fornals, but he is not a left winger. I do wonder if the fact that Moyes persists with him at left wing is more necessity than the fact that even Moyes sees him as a left wing. I think maybe Moyes sees he's playing out of position there, but he likes the energetic cover for Cresswell there. I do think the reason Fornal's not been out of the team because Moyes has looked at what Ben Rama's done. He's thought actually he is working really hard. He is actually tracking back and helping out. So I think he feels less inclined to play Fornals there. So possibly don't rule out that in this 4 transfer window cycle, if you like, that a left winger is part of the plans as well. And number 10, I'm not so sure because I think he likes Ben Rama to play there. I think he will probably feel that Fornals can play there. Which obviously, if Ben Rama's playing there, then it will bring into the fact that he probably will need another lefty. Now, it brings Lingard into the equation. I think we will try and make Lingard deal permanent. A lot of us were worried. My goodness, if Lingard plays like that every week, I'm talking about the Aston Villa game here. Man United will want 50 million. I said at the time they won't want 50 million. He'll only have a year left on his contract. And let's be fair, that was an exceptional performance. You're not going to get that all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we can wrap the Lingard deal up for somewhere between 10 and 15 million pounds. Brings you on to the striker, which is vitally important. And I think this is probably the next big signing we need to make. I'm not saying all the other ones don't need to be done, but you've seen with players like Soufal and a couple of others that there are bargains to be had. You don't necessarily have to spend big on all those positions that I've just mentioned, the 2 centre-halves and the full-back and so on and so forth. That's absolutely fine. I do believe we need to spend whatever it takes on the striker, though. I think it's crucially important. I do think that if he's identified that Youssef En-Nesyri is the guy that he wants, and having looked at him, I can understand that, then we have to go and try and get him. But also the fact that we're going and scouting in the Championship indicates he's looking elsewhere. What you do want, though, is his choice of 3 or 4 to be players that he really wants, and players that he immediately knows that when he gets them, that he's going to be able to use them and know where to deploy them. So, in actual fact, where do I think we are of this 4 transfer window? Let's look at that. I think you've got a goalkeeper. I think you've got 2 centre halves. I think you've got a left back. You've possibly got 2 wingers or a striker. I think you're looking at 5 or 6 players spread over these windows, these 4 transfer windows. Of which, let's be fair, he's probably already 1 transfer window into that now. So 5 players off the composition of a team that David Moyes probably feels would better reflect himself. I'm not sure all those players are going into the first team, by the way. And I think at least one of them, Jesse Lingard, is at the club already. But what it does do, it gets rid of some players on the bench. And I mean this in the nicest possible way here. But it gets some players off the bench like Balbuena, like Noble, like Yarmolenko, who perhaps... when Moyes is looking at that bench and he's thinking, who do I want to bring on now who can really impact the game? He's probably thinking, okay, I can replace that. He now has a whole new set of 5 new players who, because he's signed them, because when he does sign them, he knows they're going to fit into his system, he's more confident. He's more willing to use them. As a result of that, I think you may well see substitutions and being employed a little bit more than they currently are, because if you remember a video I did, whatever it was, a month or two ago, Moyes did do lots of substitutions at Everton once he had his squad put together. There you go, that's what I think. Let me know what you think. I know we know the striker and the midfielder, but where does, I think it's another video, where does Moyes think he, once he's done this, where does Moyes think he can get to? We'll deal with that in a few days' time.